Okay, Manchester United's winning streak has come to an end. We drew 1-1 with West Ham United with a late equaliser from Benjamin Sesko. Before we get into the naivety of Michael Carrick and what I perceive as some red flags with regards to him and potentially being the permanent manager of Manchester United after the summer, let's quickly touch on the players who really showed themselves up for what they are, which is one game a week, pretty good. As soon as you sprinkle in a quick turnaround, 2 days off, they were not at it. Not winning the duels, they were a second late. The goal is a perfect example of that. Luke Shaw, late on the press, gets done with the passing behind. Martinez hesitant, do I go to the cross or do I stay in the 6 yard box and defend the cross? He does neither. The ball goes behind him and Souček gets a tap in. So the attackers were poor, not at it today. The crossing was shocking today. Ahmad overhit crosses and Mbumo straight to the keeper. Bruno putting it in from angles that were not on. Just a poor display. I thought Mainu probed pretty well. Martinez good on the ball, but horrendous defending for the goal. And I thought Lenny Yoro came on and really showed them up for the application that you need in a quick turnaround game against a team fighting for their lives. So shout out Yoro. I thought he defended those two transitions brilliantly and good on the ball. I thought he carried it forward. I thought he was positive. So shout out Yoro, man. I've been critical of his and honestly it's good to see those signs where you can see him defending 2v1s like that to that level. That was high level defending from Yoro. He deserves massive credit. But yeah, look, it was disjointed all over the place. The individuals were poor, but I want to touch on Michael Carrick, who is obviously had a incredible start. He's won 4 out of 4 games. This would have been 5th in a row. We could have got that knob at a haircut. We didn't. Now I've got to see his face on social media for the foreseeable future, which is great. So cheers, lads. So look, it was a very winnable game. They're third from bottom. As much as they have turned their form around slightly, this was very winnable. And it was a 2-day turnaround, like I mentioned, and he went with the same team. So no striker, really. We've got this sort of false 9-ish sort of thing where you've got whoever's occupying them is dropping in with Bruno and they're hard to pick up. And then Ahmad and Mbumo coming off the flanks like they did against Tottenham to pretty good effect. It didn't work in this game. And we missed a focal point. It was clear all first half. You got to half time and I spoke to people. I was texting my brother, I was texting my cousin, I was texting my friends. Everybody was saying Manchester United need to get Sesko on. Whether you rate Sesko or not, you needed a focal point. You needed someone to occupy the defenders. I've got a screenshot here, and this screenshot is in the 29th minute. As you can see, we've got Lisandro Martinez still on the ball, under no pressure, which, to be fair, he did play some good line-breaking passes last night. Stood next to Kobbie Mainoo, and we've got Bruno Fernandes who's dropped right in next to him there. You've got Casemiro ahead of Bruno, which was a feature throughout the night, to be honest. I don't know if Casemiro just seen the void where we've got no striker. You've got Cunha and Ahmad, split strikers, and Mbumo's too deep, and there's nobody occupying the centre-backs there. There's a massive gap, which is where we needed Sesko. We needed a 9 to play off. That was the easiest low block they've had, West Ham. We didn't create a thing. A corner that Luke Shaw did pretty well with and Wan-Bissaka cleared off the line was the only chance we created, really, until the last 10 minutes when you start throwing balls to the wall and just chucking balls in and seeing what can come from it. We didn't create a thing against one of the worst defences in the league. Now, you get to half-time, it's obvious you need Sesko on, that's the sub. You need to bring Sesko on. Now, you can forgive Carrick for going, don't want to make a half-time change, don't want to upset the apple cart. We'll leave it a bit. We'll see if the boys can get the job done. Come out, 5 minutes later, 50th minute goal, Souček gives them a 1-0 lead. Now, as soon as Le Mans picks that ball out of the net, Sesko needs to be coming on immediately. 51st minute, substitute. That's the sub. It's not worked. You gave them the chance to go in the second half and correct it. They didn't. We went 1-0 down. If you make the change in the 51st minute, you have 47 minutes because of the 7 minutes added on, where you can rescue the game and still win it. Now, Carrick, in his post-game, said, we could have made the change earlier, but we chose not to because we were having a spell. Well, I must have missed that spell because we didn't have any spell in the game until the last 10 minutes when we were just slinging crosses in and caused a few problems for them. If Kobbie Mainoo crossing to his defensive midfielder Casemiro for an offside goal is having a spell. I'm not having that. That's a play. You can't really. It's not sustainable, is it? Your box-to-box midfielder crossing it to your DM. That's not something you look at in a game and go, "That's a play." That just happened to happen that we nearly scored off. He was offside, so it didn't count. So you were still losing. He waits 19 minutes, so basically the 70th minute to bring Sesko on. You've now got 20 minutes. Now, the change was never Cunha. You never sub Cunha in this game. A low block, you need a guy who can create from nothing. A long strike, beat a couple of people. Cunha is the guy who can do stuff outside the box. The rest of them were not at it. We got a bad Bruno game. Okay, he's been brilliant this season. It was a bad one. He was forcing it. The passes were not coming off. Ill-advised, slinging it in from angles that were not on. Ahmad got nothing out of Juve at left back. And then Mbumo had a pretty poor game. I didn't really notice him, to be honest. But Cunha's the one you leave on in games like this. You do not sub Cunha, and I think that's I think across the board people would agree with that. Now, Cunha was the premeditated sub. He subbed him in the previous 2 games. He subbed him against Fulham, and that was not a good sub either, because last 15 minutes, you're running the clock down. Cunha's perfect for that. Now, what is Cunha also perfect for is creating things out of nothing outside the box. Nobody else could do that. Bruno was having an off night. You do not take off Cunha in this game. He did take off Cunha, and for 10 minutes or so, we did nothing when Sesko came on. So then he goes, okay, shit, I need to bring Xerxes on. I've got to go balls to it now. So now Xerxes comes on. So now I've got Xerxes miscontrolling the ball every 15 seconds, while Cunha sat on the bench watching. I've also now got Amad Diallo on the left. I've got Mbumo on the right. I've got Bruno Fernandes in defensive midfield, it looked like. It looked like it was a shambles. You can't call out Amorim square pegs round holes. And look at that team that finished last night. And but for Lenny Yoro, we would have lost that 2 or 3-0. You get out of jail with an exceptional goal from Sesko. But that was an awful second half. I think Carrick got everything wrong. Ironically, the only change that was good was Yoro. A defensive change that everyone slagged Amorim off for. Yoro was brilliant when he came on, and thank God he did bring him on, because Maguire ain't stopping those 2 transitions that they had. So, very disappointing, to be honest, and a red flag. And this is the thing for me with Carrick. You cannot have nights like this. This is your job audition. You haven't got anything to fall back on. You've managed in the Championship. You cannot be laying an egg in-game like this. I don't care what anyone says. Great, he's won 4 out of 4, brilliant. Oh, he'll learn from it. I don't want him learning from it. It's not an apprenticeship. He's managing the biggest club on the planet. And and people are talking about giving it to the ex-Middlesbrough manager. He's got to blow us away. He cannot have nights like this where things are staring him in the face, the right change is right in front of him, and he doesn't make it. And then when he does make it, he brings off the guy he needed to leave on for the full 97 minutes. It was a bad one for me tonight. And I know people are going to say, this is harsh, he's done brilliant since he's come in. Yes, he has. That doesn't mean you can't criticise when he's done badly. And this was poor. Last night was poor. That game was there for them. I believe if you bring Sesko on in that 51st minute and leave Cunha on, I believe we win the game. Because you saw it, we only had 2 or 3 minutes after the goal went in. You had Diallo in that transition where we should have done better in the last kick of the game. They would have felt the pressure if they went from 1-0 to 1-1 earlier. We didn't have enough time. And to be honest, but for an incredible finish from Sesko, we would have lost the game. And obviously, Lenny Yoro's defending also. So, look, man, I think we've got Everton. I know people are taking the high road here and the glass half full approach. We take the point, difficult away game, and move on. We can't have stuff like that. We can't have these premeditated changes. I'm not having that the same 11 that plays Arsenal is suited to Fulham at home, is suited to West Ham away. I've got to get a bit more from my manager than that. There's got to be more you can do. Last night was the time to bring in a Mazraoui at right back for some fresh legs. To bring in a Sesko. I mean, after 10 minutes, you knew it needed Sesko. Not the 70th minute. The fact Sesko got the equaliser makes it even more frustrating that people like me, your average fans, no coaching badges, could see the problem. And he didn't see it. And then when he did make the change, he couldn't go away from his Cunha sub that is obviously premeditated because he rates Mbumo higher. Mbumo was the sub or Diallo who offered nothing on that right-hand side. Bruno you leave on because he's still capable. He had a stinker last night. He'd be the first person to admit that. But he's still capable. You can't sub Bruno. But Cunha out them 3, he's the one you leave on. You do not sub Cunha in that game. He's the one that can bring you something out of nothing. And he did. He hooked him. And 10 minutes later, then we've got Joshua Zirkzee on there bumbling round. It's disappointing, and I know that a lot of people are just going to go, well, he's won 4 out of his first 5, and I've been seeing this on social media, he'll learn from it. I don't want him learning from it. I want him good now. I want the manager of Manchester United next season to be good now. People are going to make mistakes, I get that. You're not going to make every sub right at the right time. But we've nothing to fall back on with Carrick. He's managed in the Championship. So there's no, if he has a bad run in December, what have we got to really, if it's an Ancelotti having a bad run, or a Luis Enrique, or somebody of that stature, we can fall, but look at the success he's had. Look at the success he's had in the past. With Carrick, we are not going to be able to do that. A bad run in December, you go, my God, we employed the Molde manager. We employed the Leipzig manager. We employed the Ajax manager. We employed the Sporting Lisbon manager. And then we went for the fucking Middlesbrough manager, who are top of the Championship right now, by the way, after sacking him. So we've got to seriously think about this permanent appointment a little bit more than just it's a good run. He's got to be perfect, because we've nothing to hang our hat on. Because he's won nothing. He's barely managed at this level. You know, it's an important decision, this. We've post-Mourinho, we've gone for inexperience. Back to back to back to back. Project managers, they'll learn from it. No, that's enough now. We've done it with players for too long. Højlund project, Garnacho, he'll get better potential. We need to get this right now. This managerial appointment this summer is massive, because we've got better players now. This is an opportunity to build and move forward and get back to challenging for league titles. Are we going to do that? Are we going to do that at some point? Or is it just going to be, well, he's an ex-player, he's brought the vibes, let's employ him? No. Look, you've got 12 more games left in this job interview, Michael. You've got to be more decisive than this. It's not fucking Sunday League, play the same team because they've won. Sub Cunha every game because that's my premeditated. It's got to be more for me. You've got to be in-game management. It's about risk. It's about timing. And you got it all wrong last night. You got it all wrong. So look, people can make mistakes. I'm not saying he's a terrible coach because of it, but we want the best in class. We don't want the best ex-player. That's my point here. I'm not going to shift from it. My gut feeling says we shake hands and we go separate ways at the end of the season, regardless of what happens. If he comes third or second and puts another little run together, I suppose you've got to at least sit up and have the conversation. But my gut feeling is no. We've got to go for the best experienced manager available in Europe. We've done this too much now. Post Mourinho, we've gone for too many projects, and that's where I'm at with it. So let us know in the comments what you think about last night's game. What do you think about the bigger picture with Carrick? Am I being too harsh? Do you agree with me? Should we just shake hands and go separate ways at the end of the season? Let us know in the comments. We'll see you on the next one.